I want to talk about keeping our kids safe from sexual predators. Now, this week, audio surfaced of one of the most notorious private coaches in the country making inappropriate remarks to a young girl. Now, he was asking her to go to the movies, trying to FaceTime, and then chastised her for saying no. That coach was Chris Flores, also known by Coach Frogg. Now, Coach Frogg was one of the founders of Stars Academy, co founder of Level Sports Group, in an arrangement that allowed him to be around some of the elite young athletes in California and then end up in business relationships with them to help secure name, image, and likeness deals, which he would then benefit financially from. And he was well connected. The key word is was. He went from throwing sessions with Patrick Mahomes, hanging out in Tuscaloosa with Nick Saban, to getting booked on multiple counts of sexual assault of a minor. Now, he went from having a stable prep, college, and NFL clients, including some of the top ranked seniors in this year's high school graduating class, and the defending Heisman Bolitnikoff winners, to having his mug shot spread nationwide. Now, this man has thrown away clearly any more than can fit in a dumpster, a landfill, and anything else. Now, police are still saying that they expect multiple additional victims to come forward as the case unfolds. And now, if you've read anything, then you know that Coach Frog is no stranger to accusations of impropriety within the California youth sports community. Now, every time something like this happens, communities come together in shock. They grieve for the victims, and then they relitigate how all of this took place and what could have been done to prevent this tragedy, and how this loser ended up preying on their children's aspirations and robbing them of their innocence. Now, you always hear, I never expected this in my community. But at some point, shouldn't you actually expect that? Now, if you Googled coach arrest this week to get information about the Chris Flores case, you would have had to sort through stories in Indiana, Montana, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Colorado just to get to this one. Look, not only am I a father, I'm a father of several kids playing youth sports at a high level here in California. And I'll be the first to admit I'm learning and don't always know the exact best way, but my heart is in the right spot. I do know that I was taught that better competition means better results. So it makes complete sense to have your kids training with other elite athletes where iron can sharpen iron, especially if that's what your kid wants to do and it's not taken away from their time to be a kid. But I'm not going to tell another parent that they're in the wrong for how they do it. But I do want parents of young athletes to take a moment to examine their hearts and ask themselves if their motives create an opportunity for blind spots when it comes to having people around their kids with bad intentions. Now, we're all smart enough to tell our kids don't take candy from a stranger, don't go in near anybody with a windowless van. But what if that candy is stars, NFL players, scholarships, or NIL money? Some of us will pick up our kids and throw them in the vans ourselves. Now, moms and dads, as long as your kids have you, they will be okay. A private coach can help with skill development and open doors, but they're not the golden ticket. You are, and your support of them is mentally, emotionally, even more than that physically. Now, too many parents look at the time and resources that they put into their kids' athletic success as an investment. Your child is not an IRA. Time and money spent on your child are a sunk cost, not an investment. Now, your satisfaction with your child or their experience should never be dependent on what you get back for that time, money, or energy that you put behind them. And we all know that people lost big trying to come up on risky investments. Maybe they took that risk because they could afford it. Maybe they took that risk because they didn't want to be left out of the gold rush. But when they lose, there's always a moment where they looked back and they were like, damn, there were actually signs that now they're clearly into focus that this was going down a bad path. And it's another thing when you regret losses in your portfolio. And then there's a different thing when that loss is some kind of pain or injury to your flesh and blood. Now, people are willing to ignore that a guy like Coach Frog is out there like a 90s Puff Daddy video, dancing in his artist videos as equally devoted to his own personal branding as he is to his client's success because they don't want to be left behind. Now, people are willing to ignore the impropriety of a 37-year-old man making TikToks with middle school girls because they don't want to be left behind. People are willing to let their daughters have unmonitored and sons have unmonitored phone conversations with an adult male coach because they don't want to be left behind. Now, you never know when your kids' playing days are going to end, but trust me on this, they will end at some point in time. Your sons and daughters are going to be much better off in the long run without you ignoring your gut to keep up with the Joneses because you want a good return on your investment. Now, remind yourself and your kids that their worth to you is not dependent on what they accomplish. And for God's sake, be their parent above trying to be their friend. Stay in their business, monitor who they talk to, where they go, and don't be afraid to outline your expectations directly with their school, their coach, and their friend group or the other parents so that that village raising the children can be on the same page. Now, is it comfortable to have a conversation with your kid or their coach about what is and is not appropriate? Hell no. But if you're in a situation to have a private coach, you've already indicated to your kids that you expect them to leave that comfort behind for the sake of growth. The least you could do is get uncomfortable along the way with them. Let that sink in.